All right, you all. So this is Mr. Stevens back with another video for our second lesson, which is called, well, actually it's our last lesson before the review day, and it is called Application of Inequalities. Remember to ask yourself as you solve real world problems, what information are you given? Number two, what are you solving for? And number three, does your solution make sense in the context of the problem? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of these problems, and then the rest of them you and a partner need to do. I'm also going to go over one of the homework questions just to make sure that we understand the directions. Number one, practice setting up an inequality for each of the situations below. Let me go ahead and annotate that. Do not solve. I'm going to box the word inequality. Number one, the school football team is selling raffle tickets for a fundraiser. It costs, let's circle this, $155 to print the tickets. And they would like to make at least, there's our key word for the inequality symbol that we're going to be using, at least a $2,500 profit. How much money do they need to raise to cover the printing costs and meet their goal? All right, so the variable, remember that always answers the question. So we're going to do, the variable will stand for amount raised. And then for my inequality, got a couple of hints here. So since they are spending money to print the tickets, this is actually going to be a negative 155 because that doesn't count towards what they're making, okay? Because they need that goes against the profit. And then remember, at least. So that keyword, that means greater than or equal to. And think about it this way. I've told you about this before, but at least is like, so if I tell you need to bring at least 2 pencils to class, can you bring 2 pencils? The answer is yes. Can you bring more than 2 pencils? Absolutely. Can you bring less than 2 pencils? No, you have to bring at least. And at least is one of those tricky ones because it sounds like it'd be less than, but it's actually greater than or equal to. So our inequality with all of that to be said will be x minus 155 is greater than or equal to 2,500. Number two, Westfield Junior High is attending a field trip to the planetarium. Students must be placed into groups of 15, and a planetarium can only accept up to 18 groups per day. How many students can attend the planetarium field trip each day? So the variable is always going to answer our questions, so it'll be number of students. All right. Now, I'm trying to figure out what operation. I know I'm using x for number of students, and then I'll be using the numbers 15 and 18. Since it says, I actually forgot to box groups of, we're going to assume that, well, those are equal groups because we know that each group has 15 in it. That means they are dividing the students into groups of 15. We also don't know our total number of students, so that clues you in that we will be using division, okay? So the total number is going to be divided by 15 because it says groups of 15. And then our keyword, it says, think about it, they can only accept, oh, and I forgot to box my keyword, up to, okay? So you can go, like if I tell you you can only have up to 5 people at the party, that means you can have 5 or less. So this would be less than or equal to 18, okay? If you were solving it, your goal would be to find the total number of students because that goes on the top of the fraction bar that would be divided by 15 to give you 18 total groups. All right, now we're going to use that and we're going to take it a step further and we're going to solve these inequalities. So let me annotate this, practice setting up an equation. This actually should say an inequality. That is a typo there. And solving the real world situations below. Frances is saving money for a new tablet. She needs to save at least, there's that keyword again, $200 and has decided to save $10 per week. How many weeks will it be before she can purchase the new tablet? I'm going to use W this time. I know I typically use X, but I'm going to switch it up and use W, okay? So W will stand for the weeks, okay? And then for my inequality, I'm going to use 10, 200, and then the word at least, okay? Oh, also per. Per tells me what operation we're using. Since it's $10 per week, that would be 10W because it's $10 times each week. For our inequality symbol, we've talked about this already, at least. If you want to annotate above this to maybe show that that means greater than or equal to, you can do that. So this would be 10W is greater than or equal to 200. All right, now we are ready to solve. You know, I like to draw my line down my inequality symbol. I'm going to divide both sides by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1, so we're left with 1W, or just W. And then that would be W is greater than or equal to 200 divided by 10 is 20. So in a sentence, we would put she needs to save for at least, I'm going to use the same wording that they did, for at least 20 weeks. And we are done. All right, let's do the next one, number 4. Farmer Fran would like to build a chicken coop. She determines that the area, I'm going to box the word because that might help us figuring out what operation we're using, that the area of the coop must be a minimum, there's a key word, of 300 square feet. If the length of the coop is 12 feet, then how wide does the chicken coop need to be? It says use area equals base times height and sketch a diagram to help. We don't need to do that, so I'm going to cross that off. And it doesn't necessarily say what kind of a shape this is in. We're going to assume that it's a rectangular chicken coop. So we're actually going to do area, we're going to do length. Well, let me back up. Let's go ahead and define our variable. We're going to do W for the width of the coop. And my equation would be, we'll actually think about it this way. So we're going to do length times width equals area, okay? Normally, I think a lot of you will see that we always do like area equals length times width, right? I'm going to put the area over on this side just because you'll see in a second we're going to set up an inequality, and it's really nice to have our total on the right-hand side, especially before we graph it. And I totally forgot to graph the last one, but that's okay. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let me go back and graph this one because I totally forgot. So save at least 20 weeks. I'm going to put 20 under here. We'll use a closed circle, and we should be, it's greater than or equal to, so the arrow points to the right. All right, and so down here, we've got 12 feet for the length, so I'm gonna put that in there. We do not know the width, so it's 12W. And then our keyword for our inequality symbol is minimum. So we're gonna do greater than or equal to 300. And remember, minimum is another tricky one. It sounds like it's less than, right? But if you have to bring a minimum of 3 pencils to class, you can need to bring 3 or more. So it'd be greater than or equal to. Let's divide both sides by 12 to solve this. 12 divided by 12 is 1. And if you can't do this mentally, just do it off to the side. 12 goes into 30 twice. Subtract your 24, you're left with 6. Bring down your 0. 12 goes into 65 times, and guess what? We are done. So it needs to be width. It needs to be greater than or equal to 25. I'm going to draw a closed circle here, put 25 underneath it. And then since it's greater than or equal to, we're going to go to the right. And for our, let's just write down width must be a minimum of 25 feet, okay? And we are done. Go ahead and do numbers 5 and 6 with your shoulder partner, okay? But I do want to go down to the homework because this will be graded on Schoology. And let's start at the beginning. It says, Gabby and her 4 sisters are going out to eat. Their parents give them each a $10 bill. Use the menu to help write and solve an inequality for each scenario. So be careful with this one. So there are a total of 5 people going out to eat. They each get $10, okay? So the total that they have with all 5 of them would be $50, okay? So be careful when you're doing this, when you're trying to figure out the inequality and solving the inequality. And for this one, I don't mind if you use a calculator for it because then we've got some repeating or really long decimals in this. So it is okay to use a calculator for this one. I'm going to just to say that again. So just be careful when you're setting up that you're using the numbers in here in this little chart or menu, okay? And a lot of times you're going to either be using this one or this one, but you've got to determine which one you're using, okay? So like number 1, it says Gabby and her 4 sisters combine the money their parents gave them. What is the maximum number of pizzas that they can order to stay within their budget? All right. I'm just going to, oops, I circled the wrong, or boxed the wrong word, okay? And I'm going to actually circle this because this is our number, okay? Gabby and her 4 sisters combine their money. And so the maximum number of pizzas, well, I can see that a cheese pizza is $7.25, okay? So we'll do S will be slices or number of pizzas, okay? I guess it's a whole pizza. That's pretty nice. And so the number that goes with the pizzas would be, well, it's $7.25 per. Let's actually switch this up and use P for pizza. How about that? Okay, so $7.25 per pizza. And then it says maximum, so it needs to be less than or equal to. And our total is 50, right? Because they're trying to figure out how many pizzas they can get for $50. To solve this, let's go and divide both sides by $7.25. $7.25 divided by $7.25. is 1. So we've got P is less than or equal to, and this is where I'll pull up my calculator. I'm going to do 50 divided by $7.25. Oops, let me back up here. And we get 6.9. Let's do 6.9. We can round that. And so, can they get 7 total pizzas? Not quite, almost, right? They can only get 6 pizzas. So they can buy 6 pizzas. Or 6 full pizzas, okay? Because they don't have enough for that 7th pizza. They almost do, but 6.9, that 0.9 will not buy you a full pizza. Okay, so there you go. That's the answer to number 1. That's my gift to you. Just read these questions, the rest of them carefully, and finish the rest on Schoology. All right, y'all, and I'll see you on Tuesday.